If you want to see 3 software tools that made me over $3 million, I'm going to show you what they are, how I'm using them, and how you can do the same thing. Now, after I show you the tools, I'll show you how I could start from scratch and build a business using only these tools. Whatever you're doing online, you're going to need a website, a way to sell stuff, a way to email people, and a way to deliver it to them. And that's what I use Ontraport for. I've been a customer since 2012, and I've used their software to launch 5 businesses, including 2 that I'm running right now. I'm going to give you a quick tour, and no, I'm not getting paid by them to do this. I'm just a happy customer. If you do sign up for them, use the link below and you'll get a discount. I'll get a discount. Everyone will be happy. But anyway, back to those features. This is Ontraport inside. We've got a dashboard here. You can see that total sales, leads, customers, just some basic stuff's on my dashboard. You can customize it by adding whatever metrics you want here, which is really great. So I can keep track of my business. But you can also track total sales. I'll go to sales, reports, and then I can do all-time sales by product here. And then you can see its total amounts of charges attempted, how much I was paid, cards declined, amount refunded. So you can see that everything's laid out here pretty easily. So it gives you some good understanding of what your business is at the high level with all these reports that you can generate. But that's the smart part, but like, how do you actually get stuff done? Let's talk about landing pages. So I'm going to click over here to pages, and I'm going to go and look at some landing pages. Let's actually just make our own landing page. So I'm just going to go here, click new landing page, and I can start from scratch, or there's a whole bunch of templates. So if I just need to build a web page really quick, I can take one of these templates, put in whatever pictures I want. I can preview it. Let's say that I'm saying, okay, well, I'm just doing this preview. Do I want to use that? I can put my own logo in it. Very, very simple and quick to do it. And if I make my own templates, then I can just use them again and again. So super easy to get started with templates. I can also do emails. So here under contacts, I've got, I can go to messages, and then I've got a list of messages. I can just create a new message, and then I will be able to create our template emails. And then this is a really easy way to just create a campaign of some sort with an email. So it's super easy to provide all of the basics. Now, a lot of systems will do these basics, and that's not honestly that special. However, this is what's special, automations. So in automations, I have a ton of automations in here, which can do all kinds of interesting things. For instance, I'm going to go here and look at commissionable sales management. So this is how I can manage actually whether or not I'm giving commission to an affiliate or to someone who's lead generating for me. And so I've got all these automations in here that says, if this happens, then that happens. Now, what this lets me do is, this is actually not a terribly complicated one. It looks complicated, but it's not. I can quickly build this up, and I can think about, instead of having a person do something, can I have a system do something? And the really great thing about Ontraport is it's not just marketing automation. You've probably seen some of these systems where it's just, if a contact does this thing, then send them an email message or send them an SMS. There's a lot of systems that can do this, but here what Ontraport really lets me do is run the entire backbone of the company on this system. So it's not just about sending emails and marketing automation, it's also about business automation, because I can set tasks for people. So I can go and set a task for one of my team members. I can also create lists of potential or of customers that need to be delivered things, fulfillment lists. I can send things to production. So I'm actually running an e-commerce company off of this, where we would generate lists of people who ordered products from us, and it would be sent over to our fulfillment house. So in that way, you can actually run the entire thing off of this and have very few employees. In fact, we got to $1 million in revenue with just one full-time employee being able to use all of the stuff on Ontraport. So the automations are really cool. You're replacing people with just being able to drag and drop some of this code here. In fact, I'll just show you a really, I'm not going to save these, don't save. I'll show you a really quick one. Let's just make a new automation. And I can say, I'm going to start from scratch. They have all these templates, but I'm just going to do this, and I'm going to say a trigger. If a new contact is created, and this is true, then do this. So if a new contact is created, then what do I want to do? Maybe I want to, maybe I'm a business that has a really high value of leads, right? Let's say I'm a consultancy or a law firm. I can go to actions, and then I'm going to notify somebody. Okay, so I'll just search here, notify with SMS. So I'm going to notify, I really want to know right away. I want to notify someone on the team with SMS. I can choose what number to notify with, and then maybe I can add them to a list. Let's say I want to send them something. I want to send them a goodie box because these leads are so high value. Send them to a fulfillment list, and then that's all that needs to happen now. So here, I'll create a fulfillment list. I can create one, and then it'll be sent automatically. A list of these people will be gathered up every day or week and sent to people, but I'll also get an SMS right away. And I can do other cool things. I can say, when a contact is created, I'll do this. I'll say, add a condition. If the field and the contact is equal to Boston, then do this. If it's equal to Boston, then I care. But if it's not equal to Boston, let's say I don't have business in Boston, I don't want to do anything. And so you can see that I can replace this whole decision-making thing with a person looking at a new lead coming in and saying, oh, is this person from Boston or not, and doing two different things. Ontraport's doing that for me. Now, this is a super simple example, and I have some really incredibly complicated automations in here, but it's a very, very simple kind of way to do this online and get a huge, huge amount of power from one piece of software. So again, they're not paying me anything for this. I've just been a happy customer since 2012. That's been 5 businesses later. I am still using them. As you can see from that prior screen, as you can see, I've done almost $3 million of sales just from this one business on this one Ontraport account. So it clearly has done me pretty well there. So let's talk about the next tool of the 3 that I would always use for starting any business, and that is Dall-E. So there are a bunch of image generators out there, and Dall-E is actually not especially one of the best ones necessarily. However, it's just, I'm using it as an example of image generators that you can use in your business. And the reason is, at my businesses, we test hundreds and hundreds of different images every single week for marketing creative. So between our social media posts, between our paid advertising, we generate a ton of images. And the more that we generate and the more that we test, the more they find that the weirdest things can work. For instance, this was for a social media post, and we tested it, and it turned out that this weird splashy clock on the left with no numbers did much better than clocks with the numbers. Who would have known, right? I actually like this one here, but we tested these and that worked a lot better. So instead of generating just 3 creatives for any kind of test or just having one option, here, I can just type in whatever I want, melting clock that's on fire, white background, photorealistic, blue and green, vibrant colors, and get some options, and we can test them. So I do a lot of testing, and on the next piece of software that I'm going to talk about, the next tool, I'm going to show you how I do a lot of that testing. But using an image generator is the next thing. You want to use some kind of AI image generation because you can generate a ton of images really, really fast. Now, you don't have to use Dall-E. It just happens to be what I use. A lot of people use Midjourney. They love it. I don't know that one is any better than another. They each have different strengths and weaknesses, but regardless, tool to be using definitely is image generators. The next tool that I'm going to show you is Facebook ads, and it's not because of the reason that you think. You probably think I'm using Facebook ads and I'm making a whole bunch of money because I'm running ads to a business. And that is true, but that's not what I'm talking about here. The way that I use Facebook ads is actually completely different. It's all about testing. So very often, you don't really know what's in the mind of your customer, especially if you're starting a business from scratch and you really aren't sure, like, well, what's the message that really they're going to hear and they're going to want to buy what you have to sell? And so Facebook is an amazing way to test messages really quickly. And how I do it is I make these little messages. I make up 22, in this case, 22 different messages that I want to test about something. So in this particular account, I was testing things having to do with climate change for an action kind of petition that we were doing. So what we would do is we would test a whole bunch of messages. So I just I'll show you an example of one here, okay, in preview, and stop polar ice melting now. Now, I don't care about polar melting. Sorry, just don't care about it that much. Not my deal. Other causes that I support, but I don't really care about this. But I didn't know if other people would care about it. And it turns out that's what they really care about. So what I'll do is I'll put these messages on this background like this, and then I'll run Facebook ads to them, just spend a few dollars. and see what gets the most clicks. And when something gets the most clicks, it means they care more about this than they care about this. And then you can look at the cost per click and say, oh, well, it's cheaper to get this click than this click. And so you can look at how many people click and the cost per click, and you can see what message are people really interested in. So what usually people do is they make this huge website and they do their whole marketing funnel and all of these campaigns, and they really haven't tested whether or not people are interested in things. The first thing to do is to test with really low dollars if someone is interested in something. And that's what I use Facebook for. So it is not just for advertising, it's for testing. This will save you thousands and thousands of dollars using this tool. So if you look at that last test that I ran, it cost me $73.54 to test, and I ran 11,445 impressions. So over 11,000 people saw these messages and they voted with their clicks. So I got 735 clicks to tell me what message was resonating the most. So this is definitely a strategy that you can deploy. I do have some more resources on this on my site, ceoworkbench.com, if you wanted to check out how I do this. But regardless, this is a technique and a tool that I use in every single business that I've done in the last 5 years, and it has always been valuable. Okay, now you've gotten a tour of some of those tools, and now I'm going to give you the blueprint of starting a business from scratch. And in fact, I am doing this right now, so this is still true today, even though it was true 5 years ago, because everything we're going to talk about is timeless. They are platforms and tools that I've been using for years and are still working today. Now, if I was starting a business from scratch, before I spend any money on building a product or advertising anything, the first thing I'm going to do is test to make sure the idea is going to work. So the third tool that I showed you, using Facebook ads, I'm going to test the ideas and the messages for the business. I'm going to write down what are the possible things that customers could want and see who's clicking on what. They're going to be voting with their clicks. And then I'm going to create a web page on Ontraport, and I'm going to see who clicks through. And so all I've done is made the simplest thing in the world. I've spent a few dollars, less than $100, to validate, is my idea a good one? Will people click on it? And then they'll visit some page. It can be a really simple page that I've set up on Ontraport with a template. And all I'm seeing is, what are the people voting with? What are they voting on? Because they're voting with their clicks, and they're more likely to buy something that they're clicking on. That gives me an idea. Then the next step is I keep on doing that, and I say, okay, well, I've taken the messages that work the most, and I'm going to run those as advertisements. Again, really, really cheap. I'm spending like $50 on this. And then I'm going to turn the Ontraport page into a give me your email address to learn more page. And now I'm going to see how many people are giving me an email address to ask for information. And I'm going to keep on trying to do this until I can get someone to give me their email address for under $1. I'm testing the message. I might be adding in some of the graphics that I made with Dall-E or whatever other image generator. And then I'm going to see if with that graphic and that message, can I get someone to give me an email address for under $1? Because that means you could have a real business on your hands. Because if someone is willing to give you their email address, saying they're interested in something you have, and at this point, you've got this really janky web page and this really kind of half-assed advertisement, and they're still giving you their email address for under $1. That means if you get good at this stuff, you could be getting, for pennies, you could be getting leads. And if you do this and you just double down on it, spend tiny amounts of money, spend less than $50 a lot of time for these tests, less than $30 sometimes, what you're going to do is cut your risk of failure by 10x. So what you're doing in all these things is testing. You're thinking like a scientist, and maybe you're not crazy about school, but thinking like a scientist here is going to pay off big because you're running lots and lots of little experiments. So instead of, like one fella I talked with, he spent $50,000 buying inventory, putting it in a warehouse, trying to sell it, and then realized no one wanted to buy it, had to sell it at a fire sale, and he got maybe 10 grand for all of that inventory. That's a major bath. If instead you can spend a few $100, test things, and slowly get better and get better, it's about these incremental changes. And that's how I'm testing the current business that I'm working at right now. So the next thing to do is have your customers try to give you money first. So the whole idea is, can you collect upfront dollars before you have to spend money? This is a real way of validating whether or not you have a real customer base. Now, you have to actually fulfill. You can't just take the money and run. You can't take the money and say, oh, oops, I'm gonna, it didn't work out. If that's the case, refund the customer, but you want to next test if they're going to give you money. If you can get a business that you've started where a customer will give you money before you have to pay any money out of pocket, you might have a winner. On this front, Ontraport can handle collecting credit cards, and that's true whether you're running a real online store or a real world store. If you're doing e-commerce, Ontraport can handle that. So that's the one system that you need in order to do all of this thing, along with Facebook ads and an image generator. Follow these steps, don't skip ahead, and you can get to $100,000 and then $1 million. Now, I've done this multiple times using these tools. And if you want a little help getting there, there is that link in the description below to get a discount to Ontraport if you use it. I'll, of course, get a discount too. Everybody wins. And if you want to know more about growing a business, visit ceoworkbench.com, where I take you step by step how to launch and scale a business for free.